against Ukrainian legislation. Here, I think it's the starting point when aggression started. And it started dozens of years ago from the very beginning of Ukrainian independence. So this is, I think, extremely important. The main strategic goals of Russian Federation when we are talking about influence is to turn Ukraine into a failed state. What does it mean, failed state, in a Russian point of view? It's just to show that it's unstable state, democracy, some kind of democracy for Russia is a kind of failure. So that's why the situation when in Ukraine we have a change of government, all this democratic procedures, quite long time to take any solutions, results for Russia. It's a kind of failure, and they show to Russians, for Russian auditorium and for West, that look, it's a failed state because they can't choose any solution. But in Russia we do it quite fast. Also, it's economical perspective where Russia shows that, look, they are absolutely dependent on West, on Western structures, Western institutions, and without US and EU money, so Ukraine can't survive. So that's why how we can seriously talk about Ukraine as a state, as an actor in international relations. Also, one of strategic goal is to prevent European and Euro-Atlantic integration of Ukraine. Putin said that Russia is not against EU integration of Ukraine, Russia against NATO integration, but it's not true. When we just remind how revolution of dignity started in Ukraine, it started because of Viktor Yanukovych refused to sign up association agreement with the European Union, and he did it because of some conversation with Vladimir Putin some time ago in Sochi. So that's why to prevent integration of Ukraine to any Western structures, institutions, is a key priority, strategic priority of Russia. And to merge Ukraine with the Russia. In Ukraine we have dozens of years of ideas that we have Western integration to EU and NATO, Eastern integration with Russia, and neutrality, to be neutral. And quite a lot of experts and people think that neutrality is the best option because we can take advantages of cooperation with West and Russia. But now it's quite easy to understand that neutrality is not an option, and neutrality is the only some slow road to merge by Russia, to integration to Russian Federation. So that's why our option was West or Russia. About preparation of Russian Federation, I'd like to stress attention of the instrument of corruption Ukrainian politicians. So it was one of the main focus of Russia last 20 years, I guess. So, and here I'd like to mention that Russia relies on individuals, not on structures. So in Ukraine, our politics is very personalized, so that's why it doesn't make any sense to rely on political parties, institutions. They have very short life, so that's why it's better to rely on politicians who could change parties but provide the interest of Russian Federation. That's why in our report I mentioned four names of the most famous pro-Russian politicians: Viktor Yanukovych, Viktor Medvedchuk, Vadim Novinsky, and Andrei Derkach. There are a lot of others, but this is the most powerful providers of Russian interest in Ukraine. And what's important that they cover different niches. Viktor Yanukovych is a former president of Ukraine. Of course, it's one of the biggest success of Russian Federation in Ukraine, but also Viktor Medvedchuk, who had a lot of influence in the media, for example. Vadim Novinsky and Andrei Derkach mostly worked in the religion field, so in Ukrainian church and the Moscow Patriarchy, and they cover a lot of Ukrainians and had very big influence. Talking about security and defense sector, I'd like to say that here the degradation of our defense sector before 2014 mostly based on two factors. First is our internal factor, lack of state thinking, and the second one is external influence of Russian Federation to reduct our military sector. So before 24, before Viktor Yanukovych presidency, our governments, our presidents didn't think much about our military defense sector because they were sure that it's impossible war with Russia, so and we need our resources for social sector, for example, and that's why we can't put much budget on army. So that's why it was. I think it's lack of state thinking. And from 2010, when Viktor Yanukovych became a president, so it started the period of intentionally influence very badly our defense sector. You know that two ministers of defense and head of SBU were representatives of Russia, and we think that they have Russian passports. And of course, all this company now in Russian Federation after 2014. So that's why to finalize, I think that Russia used a multi-year complex strategy to weaken Ukraine, and as you see, they used instruments from different fields: economy, politics, media, religion, and all together they worked on one purpose: to make Ukraine unable to resist against Russian aggression. But we see that in some cases they succeeded, but strategically I think they failed. Thank you.